Imagine finding lipstick on your husband's shirt, and when you ask him about it, he doesn't say sorry. Instead, he offers you $20 million every month, just to keep quiet while he cheats with your best friend. That was Fidral's life, a wife who was betrayed and paid off like she didn't matter. But this is not just a story of pain. This is about a smart woman who took that same money and used it to destroy her husband's empire. How did a broken wife become a powerful billionaire while her cheating husband lost everything? Find out now. Nathan wasn't just rich, he was that kind of rich. The kind of rich that made other millionaires feel poor. The kind of rich that turned heads when he walked into a room. The kind of rich that made people forget he was actually a terrible human being. His empire stretched across Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt like a spider's web. Real estate, oil, tech, media, construction. If there was money to be made, Nathan had his fingers in it. His name opened doors that remained locked for others. His phone calls got answered on the first ring. His parties were the stuff of legend. At 35, Nathan had everything a man could want. Luxury cars lined his garage, a Lamborghini, 2 Range Rovers, a Bentley, and a Ferrari he drove only on special occasions. His mansion in Lekki was something out of a magazine, with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and an infinity pool that overlooked the ocean. And he was handsome. That made everything worse. Tall, well-built, with a smile that could charm investors into signing deals they'd later regret. Women threw themselves at him constantly, and Nathan never said no. Why would he? He was Nathan, the empire builder, the deal maker, the man who had everything. But he hadn't always been this way. There was a time, years ago, when Nathan was different. When he first met Fidral, he was already successful, but he wasn't this arrogant. He wasn't this cruel. He was ambitious, yes. Driven, absolutely. But he still had something resembling a heart. Fidral was nothing like the women Nathan usually dated. She didn't come from money. She didn't have connections. She didn't wear designer clothes or expensive perfume. She was a young woman working as a secretary at one of his companies, quiet and humble, with a grace that caught his attention in a way that flashy women never did. "There's something about you," Nathan had told her on their third date, sitting in a small restaurant she had chosen because it was affordable. "You're different from everyone else." Fidral had smiled, a little shy. "Different how?" "You're real," Nathan said, reaching across the table to hold her hand. "Everyone around me wants something. Money, connections, status. But you? You just want to know me, the real me, not my bank account." Fidral had squeezed his hand gently. "That's because I believe in building something real, Nathan. Something that lasts. Money comes and goes, but love? Real love. That's forever." Nathan had believed her, or maybe he had believed in the version of himself that wanted to believe her. Either way, he fell hard and fast. Their courtship was a whirlwind. Within 6 months, Nathan had proposed with a diamond ring so large that Fidral actually gasped when she saw it. "Nathan, this is too much." "Nothing is too much for you," Nathan had interrupted, getting down on one knee in the middle of a 5-star restaurant while a live band played in the background. "Fidral, you're everything I've been looking for. Marry me. Build this empire with me. Be my queen." How could she say no? This was the fairy tale every girl dreamed about. The successful, handsome man who fell in love with her despite her humble background. The prince who saw past her circumstances and chose her anyway. Their wedding was spectacular. The kind of wedding people talked about for months afterward. 300 guests, a venue that cost more than most people's houses. Designer dresses, luxury cars, photographers fighting for the best angles. Social media went crazy. Nathan, the empire builder, and Fidral, the angel wife. That's what people called them. The perfect couple, the dream team. For the first few months, it was perfect. Nathan treated Fidral like a queen. They traveled to Dubai, London, Paris. Shopping sprees that left boutique owners smiling for days. Private jets, 5-star hotels, breakfast in bed, flowers every week. "I'm the luckiest woman alive," Fidral would tell her best friend Brenda during their phone calls. "Nathan is amazing. He treats me like I'm the only woman in the world." "You deserve it, babe." Brenda would reply, her voice warm and supportive. After everything you've been through, you deserve every bit of happiness. But fairy tales don't last forever. Especially not in Lagos. Especially not with men like Nathan. The changes started subtly. Nathan began coming home later, the flowers stopped appearing, the romantic dinners became rare, then non-existent. His phone was constantly glued to his ear, and when Fidril asked about his day, he would wave her off with a distracted "later, I'm busy." At first, Fidral told herself it was just work. Nathan was building an empire after all. Success required sacrifice. She understood that. She could be patient. But as weeks turned into months, the distance between them grew wider. Nathan started going on business trips that lasted days, sometimes weeks. He would leave without much explanation and return home smelling like perfume that wasn't Fidral's. One night, after waiting until past midnight for Nathan to come home, Fidral finally heard his car pull into the driveway. She had cooked his favorite meal, jollof rice with grilled chicken and plantains. She had set the table beautifully, lit candles, even put on one of the dresses he loved seeing her wear. Nathan walked in casually, loosening his tie, barely glancing at the dining table. "Nathan," Fidral said, standing up, "welcome home. I made dinner for us." He looked at the food, then at her, as if she had just suggested something absurd. "I'm not hungry," he said flatly, heading toward the stairs. "But Nathan, you didn't even—" "I said I'm not hungry, Fidral." His voice was sharp, cutting. "Can't you understand simple English?" "I had a long day. I don't need this right now." Fidral stood there, stunned, watching him disappear upstairs. The candles flickered, the food got cold, and something inside Fidral's heart cracked just a little. The night that changed everything came 3 months into their marriage. Nathan had gone out again, claiming he had an important investor meeting. Fidral had stopped asking questions by then. Every time she tried, Nathan would get irritated, accuse her of being clingy, of not understanding how business worked. But tonight, Fidral couldn't sleep. She lay in their massive bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of the empty house. At 2 a.m., she heard Nathan's car pull up. She sat up, her heart pounding. When Nathan walked into the bedroom, Fidral noticed something that made her blood run cold. There was a lipstick stain on his collar, bright red. Unmistakable. "Nathan," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "Where have you been?" "Work," he said, not even looking at her as he started unbuttoning his shirt. "Until 2 a.m.? "Yes, Fidral, until 2 a.m. Big deals don't happen during office hours. You wouldn't understand." Fidral stood up, walking toward him. Her hands were shaking. "Nathan, look at me." He turned, annoyed. "What?" "Your shirt," Fidral whispered, tears already forming in her eyes. There's lipstick on your collar." Nathan glanced down, then back at her, completely unbothered. "So?" That single word hit Fidral harder than a slap would have. "So," she repeated, her voice rising, "Nathan, that's someone else's lipstick on your shirt. You've been with another woman. You've been cheating on me." Nathan sighed heavily, like a man tired of explaining something simple to a child. "Listen, Fidral, I don't have time for this drama. Yes, I was with someone. Yes, it happens. And yes, it will continue to happen. That's just how it is." Fidral felt the room spin. What are you saying?" Nathan walked to his closet, pulling out fresh clothes, speaking casually as if discussing the weather. "I'm saying I'm a man, Fidral. A successful, wealthy man. Women are everywhere. I have needs. I have desires. And I'm not going to deny myself just because I have a ring on my finger." "But you married me," Fidral cried, tears streaming down her face. "You promised to be faithful." "You said I was enough." Nathan turned to face her, his expression cold. That was before. "Things change. People change. Look, I don't want to fight about this. Here's what's going to happen. I'll make you an offer. A good offer. One that most women would kill for." He walked to his briefcase, pulled out a checkbook and started writing. $20 million, Nathan said, signing the check with a flourish. $20 million every single month. That's your salary for being Mrs. Nathan, for wearing my ring, for living in this house, for enjoying this lifestyle. He held out the check, but Fidral just stared at it in horror. You, you're trying to pay me, to accept your cheating. I'm not trying to do anything, Nathan said, his voice firm. I am paying you. This is how it's going to work. Every month, 20 million hits your account. In exchange, you don't question me. You don't nag, you don't cry, you don't complain. You live your life, I live mine, and we both win. This isn't winning, Fidril sobbed. This is you breaking my heart and throwing money at it like that will fix everything. Nathan shrugged. Call it whatever you want. The money will be in your account by tomorrow morning. Use it, enjoy it, buy whatever makes you happy. But remember, the price for that money is your silence. He walked past her toward the bathroom, then paused at the door. Oh, and Fidril, this isn't a negotiation. This is how things are now. Either accept it and live comfortably, or reject it and, well, you won't reject it. Nobody rejects $20 million a month. The door closed behind him, and Fidril collapsed onto the bed, her entire world crumbling around her. The next morning, true to his word, Fidril checked her phone and saw the alert. $20 million had been deposited into her account. Money she never asked for, money she didn't want, money that felt like poison. She called the only person she could trust, the only person who had been there through everything. Her best friend since childhood, Brenda. Brenda arrived within an hour, rushing into the house with concern written all over her face. She found Fidril in the bedroom, still in her nightgown, eyes red from crying all night. Fidril! Baby girl, what happened? Brenda rushed to her side, wrapping her arms around her friend. Through broken sobs, Fidril told her everything. The late nights, the lipstick stain, Nathan's cold confession, the $20 million, the arrangement. Brenda listened, her face showing all the right emotions, shock, anger, sympathy. He did this to you, Brenda whispered, cupping Fidril's face. Nathan could be this heartless? I don't know what to do, Fidril cried. I love him, Brenda. I really love him, but how can I stay with someone who's doing this? Brenda wiped Fidril's tears with gentle hands. Listen to me. You're strong, you're beautiful, you deserve so much better than this, but right now you need to think carefully. Do you want to leave him? Fidril shook her head weakly. Where would I go? I have nothing without him. My family. I have no family. No money of my own. Nothing. Then you need to be smart, Brenda said, her voice soft but firm. If you're going to stay, take the money. Save it. Protect yourself. And maybe one day you'll be strong enough to leave. You really think I should take it? Fidril asked, searching her friend's eyes. I think you should survive, Brenda replied. That's what matters now. Your survival. It was good advice, or at least, it sounded like good advice. Fidril held on to Brenda like a lifeline, grateful to have at least one person in the world who truly cared about her. What Fidril didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Brenda's sympathy was a mask. That Brenda's advice was designed to keep Fidril exactly where she was. Because Brenda had her own plans, her own secrets. The truth would come out soon enough. And when it did, it would destroy Fidril in ways Nathan's confession never could. But for now, Fidril held on to her friend, believing she had an ally. Believing she wasn't completely alone. She was wrong. Time moved differently for Fidril after that night. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months. Every 30 days, like clockwork, another 20 million appeared in her account. And every 30 days, Fidril died a little more inside. Nathan no longer pretended. He didn't hide his late nights. He didn't wash off the perfume. Sometimes he wouldn't come home for 2 or 3 days straight, and when he did, he acted like nothing was wrong. Did you receive the money? He'd ask casually, the same way someone might ask about the weather. Yes, Fidril would reply, her voice hollow. Good. Then we have no problems. And that was it. That was their marriage now. A business transaction. $20 million in exchange for Fidril's dignity, her self-respect, her heart. To the outside world, Fidril was living the dream. People saw her designer clothes, her jewelry, her cars. They saw her Instagram posts, carefully curated photos of luxury handbags, exotic vacations that she took alone, expensive restaurants where she ate alone. Girl, you're so lucky, women would comment. Nathan treats you like a queen. If only they knew. If only they could see past the filters and the perfect angles. If only they could see her crying in the bathroom at 3 a.m. If only they could hear her begging God to either change Nathan or give her the strength to leave. But Fidral had learned to wear a mask, to smile when people asked how married life was, to post the right photos at the right times, to play the role of the happy wife while dying inside. The only real comfort she had was Brenda. Her best friend visited regularly, always with encouraging words, always with support. "You're doing great, babe," Brenda would say. "Stay strong. This season will pass." Sometimes Brenda would bring gifts, small things, thoughtful things. A book she thought Fidral would like, her favorite chocolate, a scented candle. "You're such a good friend," Fidral would tell her, grateful for the only genuine relationship in her life. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Brenda would smile and squeeze her hand. "That's what best friends are for, right? We stick together no matter what." Meanwhile, Nathan's empire continued to grow, or so it seemed. He was always loud about his successes, always posting about new deals, new properties, new ventures. His social media was full of champagne bottles, expensive watches, exotic cars. But something else was happening beneath the surface. Something Nathan himself didn't notice because he was too busy chasing the next thrill, the next woman, the next high. His spending had become reckless, not just on himself, but on the women he paraded around. Designer bags, jewelry, trips abroad, luxury apartments. He was bleeding money faster than his businesses could generate it. His managers tried to warn him. "Sir, we need to discuss the accounts. The expenses are—" "I don't want to hear it," Nathan would interrupt. "Do you know who I am? I'm Nathan. The empire is solid. Stop worrying like old women." But the empire wasn't solid. It was built on credit, on loans, on the illusion of wealth. And illusions, no matter how convincing, eventually shatter. One woman in particular was draining him faster than all the others combined. She was expensive, demanding, and Nathan couldn't seem to say no to her. Whatever she wanted, she got. A mansion in Banana Island, done. A G-Wagon, bought. Monthly allowance of $5 million, no problem. This woman knew exactly how to play Nathan. She made him feel like a king, like a conqueror. She fed his ego in ways Fidral never could because Fidral wanted honesty, not flattery. But this woman? She told Nathan exactly what he wanted to hear. "You're the most powerful man in Lagos," she would purr, running her fingers through his hair. "Any woman would be lucky to have you." "You're right," Nathan would reply, his ego inflated. "I am powerful. I am unstoppable." Little did he know that every compliment, every ego stroke, was costing him his empire. It happened on a Friday evening. Fidral was home alone, as usual. Nathan had texted earlier saying he wouldn't be back until late. No explanation, no details, just a one-line message that basically said, "Don't wait up." Fidral had stopped caring. She had learned to exist in a state of emotional numbness, going through the motions of life without actually living. She was in the kitchen making tea when she heard the front door open. Surprised, she glanced at the clock. 7 p.m. Nathan never came home this early anymore. She walked toward the living room and heard voices. Nathan's deep laugh and another voice, female, familiar. Fidral's stomach dropped. She moved quietly toward the sound, her heart pounding. As she approached the sitting room, she saw them through the slightly open door. Nathan was on the couch and sitting on his lap, laughing loudly, arms wrapped around his neck, was Brenda. Fidral's best friend, her only friend. The world stopped spinning. Fidral's hand went to her chest, trying to calm the heart that felt like it might explode. This couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare. Brenda? Her Brenda? The same woman who had held her while she cried. The same woman who had encouraged her to stay strong. The same woman who had called Nathan heartless. Fidral pushed the door open wider, and it creaked. Both Nathan and Brenda turned to look at her. For a split second, Brenda's eyes showed something. Guilt, maybe, or fear, but it vanished quickly, replaced by a strange defiance. Nathan, on the other hand, looked annoyed, like Fidral had just interrupted something important. "Fidral," he said flatly, "what are you doing?" "What am I doing?" Fidral's voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. "Nathan, Brenda, What? What is this? Brenda slowly slid off Nathan's lap, but she didn't look away. She stood there, arms crossed, her expression morphing into something Fidril had never seen before, something cold. This? Nathan leaned back on the couch, completely relaxed. This is exactly what it looks like. And before you start with the drama, let me remind you, what am I paying you for? Those words hit Fidril like a physical blow. You're paying me so you can... She couldn't even finish the sentence. She turned to Brenda, tears already streaming down her face. Brenda? My best friend? How could you? Brenda's response was the final knife in Fidral's heart. She smiled, not a warm smile, a cold, calculated smile. Oh, Fidral, sweet, naive Fidral. Brenda's voice dripped with condescension. You really thought I was your friend? You thought I cared about your little crying sessions? What? Fidral stumbled backward, as if the words had physically pushed her. Think about it, Brenda continued, her voice getting crueler with each word. Who do you think encouraged you to stay with Nathan? Who told you to take the money and not make a fuss? Me, because the longer you stayed quiet, the more time I got to have him. Nathan chuckled, clearly enjoying the show. But you... Fidril couldn't form sentences anymore. Her mind was breaking, unable to process this betrayal. But nothing, Brenda snapped. You know what? You should be thanking me. Because of me, you're getting 20 million every month. Because of me, Nathan stays interested enough to keep this arrangement going. Without me, you'd have nothing. How dare you? Fidril finally found her voice, anger mixing with the pain. I trusted you. I told you everything. You were my best friend. Brenda laughed, a sound that would haunt Fidral's nightmares for months. Best friend, please, I was always better than you, Fidral. Prettier, smarter, more fun. Nathan knew it from the start. The only reason he married you was because you were, how did he put it, baby? She turned to Nathan. Nathan grinned, convenient and quiet. I needed a wife. She was available and unlikely to cause problems. Fidral felt like the ground was disappearing beneath her feet. She grabbed the doorframe to steady herself. Nathan, she whispered, her voice broken, we took vows. We stood before God. You said you loved me. I say a lot of things, Nathan replied dismissively. Look, this isn't personal. It's just business. You play your role, I play mine. You keep your mouth shut and keep collecting your money. We keep doing what we're doing. Everyone wins. Except me, Fidral whispered. You're getting 20 million a month. Nathan's voice rose. Do you know how many women would kill to be in your position? You live in luxury. You have everything. And all I'm asking is that you don't be a nag about what I do with my free time. Fidral looked at both of them. Nathan lounging on the couch like a king, Brenda standing beside him like a queen. And something inside her broke completely. But it wasn't the kind of breaking that destroys a person. It was the kind of breaking that rebuilds them into something stronger, something dangerous. Fidral didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She didn't beg. She simply looked at both of them with tears streaming down her face, then turned and walked away. As she climbed the stairs to her room, she heard Brenda's voice behind her, mocking and cruel. See, baby? I told you she's weak. She'll cry for a few days and then get over it. They always do. Nathan's laughter followed, but they were wrong, so wrong. Because Fidral wasn't crying out of weakness as she closed her bedroom door. She was crying out of rage, out of determination, out of a plan that was already forming in her mind. They thought $20 million was hush money. They thought it was payment for her silence. They didn't realize it was ammunition, and Fidral was about to wage a war they never saw coming. The next morning, Fidral woke up with dry eyes and a clear mind. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. Her face was swollen from crying, but her eyes held something new, something cold, something calculating. She opened her laptop and logged into her bank account. $100 million. 5 months of Nathan's payments. $100 million that he thought was buying her silence. Nathan had no idea he had just funded the beginning of his own end. Fidral spent that entire day researching, investment opportunities, business ventures, real estate, stock markets. She made calls to financial advisors, using fake names, asking questions, learning. By evening, she had a plan. The first thing Betrayal did was divide the money. 50 million went into secure, diverse investments, stocks, bonds, real estate in emerging markets. 20 million went into starting 3 small businesses under shell companies, names that couldn't be traced back to her. She registered them under different identities, used offshore accounts, hired managers to run them. The remaining 30 million she kept liquid, ready to move quickly when opportunities arose. All of this happened in complete silence. Nathan never checked her accounts. Why would he? He thought Betrayal was spending his money on shoes and handbags. He thought she was just another trophy wife, pretty but harmless. He had no idea that while he was out flaunting his wealth and sleeping with Brenda, Betrayal was building an empire in the shadows. Over the next weeks, something interesting happened. Nathan's reckless spending continued, but his businesses started showing cracks. Small at first, delayed payments, unhappy investors, projects running over budget. His managers tried to warn him again. "Sir, we really need to talk about the finances. The numbers aren't adding up. We're spending more than we're earning." "Get out of my face," Nathan snapped. "You people worry too much. I've been running this empire for years. I know what I'm doing." But he didn't, and the problem was getting worse. Meanwhile, Brenda was enjoying her position as Nathan's favorite. She had moved into the Banana Island mansion he bought for her. She posted photos constantly, designer bags, expensive dinners, luxury cars. She wanted everyone to know she had won, that she had taken Nathan from Betrayal. What Brenda didn't know was that every expensive gift Nathan gave her was money he didn't have. Every trip was paid for with loans. Every piece of jewelry was bought on credit. Nathan's empire was a house of cards, and it was starting to wobble. But Betrayal's empire was growing, quietly, steadily. Smart investments were paying off. Her businesses were generating profit. She was networking with serious players in the business world, people who didn't care about Instagram likes, but about actual money, actual power. She attended business conferences under different names. She joined investment groups. She learned from the best. And most importantly, she watched and waited. By month 4, Betrayal had turned 100 million into 180 million. By month 5, it was pushing 250 million. And Nathan's accounts were in the red. His loans were being called in. His friends were starting to distance themselves. Whispers started in Lagos business circles. Nathan is in trouble. He's been living beyond his means. The empire is crumbling, but Nathan's pride wouldn't let him see it. He kept spending, kept partying, kept believing he was untouchable, until the day it all came crashing down. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Nathan was summoned for an emergency board meeting. His remaining investors, his creditors, his business partners, everyone wanted answers. Nathan got dressed in his most expensive suit, sprayed his most expensive cologne, put on his Rolex, checked himself in the mirror and smiled. He still looked like a winner. Everything would be fine. When he walked into the conference room at the tall glass building downtown, he expected to see the usual faces. Instead, the room was filled with people he didn't recognize, serious-looking men and women in business suits, stone-faced, silent, and sitting at the head of the table where the chairman usually sat was Betrayal. Nathan actually stumbled. His confident stride faltered. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Betrayal was wearing a simple but elegant black power suit. Her hair was pulled back. No excessive jewelry, no flashy accessories. She looked professional, powerful, terrifying. "Hello, Nathan," she said, her voice calm. "Please, have a seat." Nathan's brain couldn't process what he was seeing. "Betrayal? What? What are you doing here?" One of the serious-looking men spoke up. "Mr. Nathan, please sit down. We have much to discuss." Nathan sat slowly, his eyes never leaving Betrayal. "What is this? What's going on?" Betrayal folded her hands on the table, and for the first time since that horrible night, she smiled. But it wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of a chess player who just said checkmate. "Nathan, I'd like to introduce you to some people." These are my business partners, the heads of several major investment firms, real estate moguls, tech investors, oil and gas executives. Nathan looked around the room, confusion and fear starting to mix on his face. Your business partners? I don't understand. Let me explain, Betrayal said, her voice still eerily calm. Do you remember the 20 million you've been giving me every month? The hush money, the payment for my silence while you destroyed our marriage? Nathan's jaw tightened. What about it? I saved it. Every single dollar, and I invested it. Wisely, very wisely. Betrayal gestured to the people around the table. These kind individuals helped me turn your guilt money into something much more valuable, into an empire. Nathan's face went pale. You, what? While you were busy spending recklessly, partying, buying expensive gifts for Brenda and your other women, I was building something real. And now, Betrayal pulled out a stack of papers. Now I'm here to make you an offer. Actually, that's not quite accurate. I'm not here to make you an offer. I'm here to tell you how this is going to work. One of the moguls spoke up, his voice firm. Mr. Nathan, your debts have been called in. Your creditors want their money. Your loans are overdue. Your empire, as you call it, is bankrupt. Nathan shot to his feet. That's impossible. I have assets. I have properties. Had, Betrayal corrected, past tense, because over the last 3 months, while you were distracted, I've been quietly buying up your debts. Your loans. I own them now. Your creditors. They sold your contracts to my companies. Your properties, the ones you mortgaged to fund your lifestyle. I'm foreclosing on them. Nathan's legs gave out and he collapsed back into the chair. No, this can't be happening. Betrayal stood up, walking slowly around the table until she was standing directly behind Nathan's chair. She leaned down, her voice soft but deadly. You thought you were paying me to stay quiet, Nathan, but you were actually funding your own destruction, every month, every dollar. You handed me the weapons I needed to dismantle everything you built. And the best part. She paused, letting the moment sink in. I did it all, while you were too busy cheating with my best friend to notice. Nathan's hands were shaking. Betrayal, please, we can work something out. I can fix this. Just give me time. Time? Betrayal walked back to her seat. Like the time you gave me to accept your betrayal? Like the time you gave me to watch you parade my best friend around like she was your prize? No, Nathan, your time is up. She pushed a document across the table. Sign this. Nathan pulled the paper closer, his eyes scanning the words. His face went from pale to grey. Divorce papers? Among other things, Betrayal said, you're signing over all remaining assets to me. You're accepting the dissolution of your companies, and you're agreeing never to use my name or our connection for any business purposes in the future. This is everything, Nathan shouted, his voice cracking. You're taking everything. No, Betrayal replied coldly. You gave me everything. You just didn't realize it at the time. Now sign. Nathan looked around the room desperately, searching for sympathy, for an ally, but every face was stone. These were business people. They understood one thing: power. And in this room, Betrayal had all of it. With trembling hands, Nathan signed the papers. Each signature felt like a piece of his soul being ripped away. When the last page was signed, Betrayal collected the documents and placed them in her briefcase. She looked at Nathan one final time, and for a brief moment he thought he saw a flicker of the woman he had married. But it vanished quickly. You can go now, Betrayal said simply. Nathan stood on shaky legs. As he walked toward the door, he turned back one last time. Betrayal, I'm sorry for everything. I never meant for things to turn out this way. Betrayal's expression didn't change. Neither did I, Nathan. Neither did I. The door closed behind him, and Nathan found himself standing in the hallway of the building he used to own, now owned by his ex-wife. The irony was almost poetic. Nathan's world unraveled faster than he thought possible. Within days, the news spread through Lagos like wildfire. The mighty Nathan, empire builder, millionaire playboy, had lost everything. And worse, he had lost it to his own wife. Social media exploded. The same people who had praised him, envied him, celebrated him, now mocked him mercilessly. How do you lose your empire to your wife? Nathan really thought he could pay off his wife and cheat in peace. Men never learn. This is what happens when you underestimate a woman. Betrayal is a queen. The shame was unbearable. Nathan couldn't go anywhere without people whispering, pointing, laughing. His phone, which used to ring constantly with business calls and party invitations, was now silent. His friends had vanished. The same people who used to fight to sit at his table now acted like they didn't know him. His cars were repossessed. His bank accounts were frozen. The mansion in Lekki, the one with the infinity pool and crystal chandeliers, had a foreclosure notice on the door. Nathan had nowhere to go. His family had warned him about his lifestyle, and he had ignored them. Now he was too ashamed to face them. His pride, the same pride that had made him feel invincible, now prevented him from asking for help. There was only one place left. One person who might still want him. Brenda. Nathan drove his last remaining car, an old Honda he had kept for emergency purposes, to the Banana Island mansion. The mansion he had bought for Brenda, the mansion that was in her name because he wanted to take care of her. He pressed the doorbell, once, twice. No answer. He pulled out his phone and called her number. It rang and rang. No answer. "Brenda," he shouted, banging on the door. "Brenda, open up! It's me, still nothing!" Nathan's heart was pounding. She was inside. He knew she was inside. He could see lights on upstairs. He called again. This time, after several rings, she picked up. "Brenda, thank God. Listen, I need to talk to you. I'm outside. Can you open the door?" There was a long pause. Then Brenda's voice came through, cold and detached. "No." "What?" "Brenda, it's me. Nathan, open the door." "I know who you are, Nathan." And I said no. Go away. Nathan felt panic rising in his chest. "Brenda, please, everything has fallen apart. I lost everything. The business, the money, the house. I need you right now. Please, baby, just let me in so we can talk." He heard her laugh, not a happy laugh. A cruel one. "Let me get this straight," Brenda said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You want to come into my house, the house that's in my name, by the way, because you're now broke and desperate?" "Our house, baby. I bought it for us." "You bought it for me," Brenda corrected. "Remember? You put it in my name. It's mine, not ours. Mine." Nathan's stomach dropped. "Brenda, what are you saying?" "I'm saying that I don't need you anymore, Nathan. You were fun when you had money, when you could take me shopping, buy me cars, take me on trips. But now," she laughed again, "now you're just pathetic." "But I love you," Nathan shouted desperately. "We had something real." "Real?" Brenda's voice turned mocking. "Nathan, please. You were a meal ticket. A generous meal ticket, I'll give you that. But now the meals have stopped, so why would I keep eating at the table? You can't be serious." "I'm very serious, and just so you know, you weren't even the only one. Did you really think I was sitting here alone all those nights you were working late? Please, I had other men, richer men, smarter men, men who actually knew how to protect their wealth instead of throwing it away like a fool." Nathan felt like he'd been punched in the gut. You were cheating on me too." Brenda laughed so hard he could hear her gasping for breath. "Cheating on you? Nathan, you were married. You were the one cheating. I was just having options, keeping my choices open. And guess what? One of those options is here with me right now." Nathan heard a male voice in the background, deep, confident. "Baby, who are you talking to?" "Nobody important," Brenda replied. Then back to Nathan. "Look, I have company. A real man, someone who still has money and isn't crying at my doorstep. So do me a favor, lose my number, forget where I live, and go find someone else to beg. Maybe Betrayal will take you back." "Oh, wait." She laughed cruelly. "She's too busy being a billionaire now. Imagine that. The quiet little wife you paid off is now richer than you ever were. How does that feel, Nathan?" Before Nathan could respond, the phone went dead. He stood there, phone in hand, staring at the door. This was it. This was rock bottom. The woman he had destroyed his marriage for, the woman he had spent millions on, the woman he thought loved him, she had used him and thrown him away like trash. Just then, the door opened. A tall, well-built man stepped out. young, handsome, wearing expensive clothes. He looked Nathan up and down with barely concealed contempt. "You're Nathan?" the man asked. Nathan couldn't speak. He just nodded. "Brenda told me about you, said you used to be somebody." The man smiled mockingly. "Used to be? That's the saddest phrase in the world, isn't it? Used to be rich, used to be powerful, used to be relevant." He stepped closer. "Now you're just used up. Take a hint, man. Leave. You're embarrassing yourself." The door slammed shut, and Nathan heard laughter from inside. Both of them. Brenda and her new man, laughing at him. Nathan stumbled back to his car and sat inside, his head falling onto the steering wheel. No money, no empire, no wife, no lover, no friends, no dignity, nothing. He had spent years building an image, only to realize it was all just smoke and mirrors. And now the smoke had cleared, and everyone could see him for what he really was. A man who had everything and threw it all away for fleeting pleasures. While Nathan's life crumbled, Fidral's life transformed in ways she had never imagined. The business world, which had ignored her as Nathan's wife, now saw her as Fidral Dean, billionaire entrepreneur, strategic investor, empire builder. Within weeks of the boardroom meeting, her name started appearing in business magazines. The silent wife who outsmarted a millionaire. From betrayal to billions, the Fidral Dean story. How one woman turned pain into power. Invitations poured in. Speaking engagements at business conferences. Board positions at major corporations. Investment opportunities that would have made Nathan's head spin. But Fidral handled it all with the same calm grace she had shown throughout her ordeal. She didn't gloat, she didn't flaunt. She simply built, invested, and grew. She hired the best team money could buy. Lawyers, accountants, business managers who were loyal and competent. She diversified her portfolio, investing in real estate, technology startups, agriculture, renewable energy, everything Nathan had neglected in favor of flashy, ego-driven ventures. Within 6 months, Fidral's net worth had surpassed what Nathan's had been at his peak. Within a year, she had doubled it. But money wasn't what drove Fidral anymore. Purpose was. She remembered where she had come from. She remembered what it felt like to be powerless, to be paid off, to be treated like she didn't matter, and she decided she would use her wealth to make sure other women never had to feel that way. Fidral established the Silent Strength Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping women escape abusive relationships, start businesses, gain financial independence. She funded scholarships for young girls, built vocational training centers, created mentorship programs. "I was silent for 5 months," she told a crowd at a women's empowerment conference. "But my silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy, it was preparation, and when the time came, I spoke with actions louder than words ever could." To every woman listening, your circumstances don't define you. Your resilience does, your intelligence does, your refusal to give up does. The audience gave her a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Nathan had become a cautionary tale. Business schools used his case as an example of what happens when ego and reckless spending replace sound financial management. His name, once synonymous with success, now represented failure. He tried to rebuild. He reached out to old contacts, pitched new business ideas, looked for investors. But nobody trusted him anymore. The man who had lost an empire to his own wife? Who would invest in that? He moved from one cheap hotel to another, sometimes sleeping in his car. His expensive suits were replaced with clothes from thrift stores. His Rolex was sold to pay for food. The man who once posted champagne and caviar on social media now struggled to afford basic meals. One evening, Nathan found himself walking past his old mansion in Lekki, the one Fidral now owned. He stood outside the gates, looking at the lights in the windows, remembering when this had been his kingdom. The security guard recognized him and looked away, embarrassed. "You can't stand here, sir," the guard said quietly. "Madam's orders." "I used to live here," Nathan said, his voice hollow. "I know, sir. But please go. I don't want to call the police." Nathan nodded slowly and walked away. Even his own former security guard pitied him now. A year after the boardroom meeting, Fidral was invited to be the keynote speaker at the biggest business conference in West Africa. The event was being held at the Echo Hotel, and every major player in the business world would be there. Fidrel arrived in a chauffeur-driven car, wearing an elegant emerald green dress that was both professional and stunning. Cameras flashed, journalists asked for interviews, other business leaders wanted to network with her. As she walked through the lobby toward the conference hall, she nearly collided with someone. She stepped back, an apology on her lips, then froze. It was Nathan. He looked broken. His suit was cheap and ill-fitting, his shoes were scuffed. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow. He was holding a folder full of business proposals, probably hoping to corner potential investors. For a moment, they just stared at each other. A year's worth of history hung between them. Betrayal, pain, revenge, transformation. Nathan opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. What could he say? "I'm sorry" felt laughably inadequate. "I was wrong" was too obvious. "Please help me" was too pathetic. Fidral's security detail moved forward, ready to remove him if needed, but Fidral raised her hand, stopping them. "It's okay," she said quietly. "Give us a moment." The security stepped back, but stayed close. Nathan finally found his voice. "Fidral, you look..." He couldn't finish. "Successful," Fidral offered, her voice neutral. "Happy, free," Nathan winced. "All of those things. You deserve it. I know that doesn't mean much coming from me, but you do." Fidral studied him for a moment. There was no anger in her eyes anymore, no hatred, just a calm acceptance of what had been and what now was. "You taught me something important, Nathan," she said. "You taught me that my value doesn't come from who I'm married to or how much someone is willing to pay for my silence. It comes from within. From my intelligence, my resilience, my refusal to stay broken." Nathan nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "I destroyed everything, including the one real thing I ever had." "Yes," Fidral agreed simply. "You did. Is there any way, any chance that we could..." Nathan couldn't finish the sentence, but his eyes held desperate hope. Fidral shook her head slowly. "No, Nathan. That door is closed, locked, and the key has been thrown away. We're not getting back together. We're not even friends. We're just two people who used to know each other, going in completely different directions." She paused, then added, "But I'll tell you what I am willing to do. I'm willing to let go, truly let go. I don't hate you anymore. I don't wish you harm. I just don't think about you at all anymore, and I hope you can find that same peace someday." Nathan wiped his eyes. "I don't deserve your kindness." "You're right. You don't. But I'm not being kind for you. I'm being kind for me, because holding on to anger and bitterness would only poison my own success. And I've worked too hard to let you ruin my life twice." With that, Fidral walked past him toward the conference hall where hundreds of people were waiting to hear her speak. Her security detail followed. Nathan stood alone in the lobby, watching her go. The woman he had paid to stay silent was now the most powerful voice in the room. And he was just a ghost from her past, fading into irrelevance. So, what do you think of this story? Do you believe Nathan got exactly what he deserved? Or do you think there was a better way for Fidral to handle the situation? And what about Brenda, the so-called best friend who turned into the ultimate backstabber? Have you ever experienced betrayal like this in your own life? From a friend, a partner, someone you trusted completely, how did you handle it? Did you get revenge? Did you walk away? Did you forgive? Share your story in the comments below. I want to hear from you. Because these stories aren't just entertainment, they're lessons. They're warnings. They're an inspiration for anyone who's ever felt powerless, betrayed, or broken. And remember, you're stronger than you think, smarter than they believe, and capable of more than anyone, including yourself, has ever imagined. If this story touched you, hit that like button. If it makes you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more powerful stories like this, stories filled with drama, betrayal, lessons, and inspiration from real life, subscribe to Roots of the African Tales.